Iran has deliberately kept the Strait of Hormuz sealed tight after the 28th of February strikes, turning a regional conflict into a global energy nightmare that is now choking supply chains from Tokyo to Berlin and forcing every major economy to feel the pain. If this closure drags on another month, factories will shut down across Europe and Asia. Gasoline prices will spike beyond anything seen since the 1970s. And the resulting recession could wipe out years of post-pandemic recovery in a single quarter. Yet behind Iran's calculated decision to drag the whole world into the crisis lies a deeper, great power contest over who actually controls the arteries of global energy, where Tehran is betting that economic suffering will fracture alliances faster than any missile can. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to my channel. The closure began the moment the epic anger strikes ended on the 28th of February 2026. Iranian Revolutionary Guard speedboats and coastal batteries moved into position, and Tehran broadcast a simple message: any vessel attempting passage would be treated as a legitimate target. Within 48 hours, nearly 200 tankers had either diverted around Africa or dropped anchor in safe waters. Brent crude jumped from $78 to $120 a barrel almost overnight. The narrow choke point that had carried 19 million barrels a day suddenly carried zero. What makes this different from past closures is the deliberate, open-ended nature of Iran's move. Previous incidents were short-lived retaliatory spasms. This time, Tehran has framed the blockade as permanent until the United States and Israel withdraw all forces from the region and lift every sanction. The message is clear: you struck at our leadership, now the world pays the price, and pay it is Japan. As we discussed before, is already rationing reserves and watching its industries slow. Europe, already energy stressed from the Ukraine war, is seeing German chemical plants cut production by 30% and French nuclear operators scramble for emergency coal imports. Even China, though better insulated, is quietly stockpiling while offering discounted Iranian oil to its Belt and Road partners at prices that lock in long-term dependence. The human cost is already visible. Truckers in California are paying $6 a gallon and passing the expense to grocery prices. Families in Mumbai are skipping meals because cooking fuel has doubled. Airlines from Singapore to London are canceling routes because jet fuel costs have made them unprofitable. This is not abstract economics. It is daily life being rewritten by a single waterway 300 kilometers long. What is most striking is how Iran has turned its own weakness into leverage. The country's economy was already battered by sanctions, its military outmatched in conventional terms. Yet by simply refusing to let oil flow, Tehran has achieved what no army could. It has made every major power a stakeholder in its survival. The United States cannot afford to let prices stay this high ahead of midterm elections. Europe cannot survive another energy shock without political upheaval. Japan's export machine, the engine of its entire post-war identity, is grinding down. Even Russia and China, nominal partners, are feeling secondary effects through higher global prices and disrupted trade routes. Iran has successfully dragged everyone into the water. This raises the uncomfortable question that more and more voices in Washington and Jerusalem are asking in private. Does this war still make sense? The original strikes were sold as a decisive blow against Iran's nuclear program and regional terror network. Khamenei is gone, several key commanders are dead, and Iran's missile production has been disrupted. Yet the strategic return now looks vanishingly small compared with the global chaos. The nuclear sites were hardened and partially relocated years ago. The program has not been destroyed, only delayed. Meanwhile, the proxy Axis Hezbollah Houthis Iraqi militias is more active than ever, and the economic blowback is hitting America's own allies harder than Tehran itself. The irony is painful. The United States and Israel set out to reshape the Middle East through force. Instead, they have handed Iran the ultimate asymmetric weapon, control over the price of the modern world's lifeblood. Every additional week of closure strengthens the narrative inside Iran that the regime's sacrifice was worth it. Hardliners who might have been weakened by Khamenei's death are now strengthened by the global pain. Ordinary Iranians, while suffering, see their country standing up to the superpower and winning through endurance rather than firepower. Meanwhile, the alliance fractures we saw last week are accelerating. NATO's collective refusal to send ships was not just budget fatigue, it was the realization that this crisis is unwinnable on current terms. European leaders are openly questioning why they should risk naval assets to clean up a conflict they never supported. The United States is left with the bill, carrier groups tied down, Todd batteries diverted from Asia, budgets stretched at the exact moment domestic priorities demand attention. Beijing watches with quiet satisfaction, buying cheap oil and positioning itself as the rational actor calling for talks. If we pull the lens back further, this moment echoes every historical case where a weaker power used economic denial to outlast a stronger one. Think of the 1973 OPEC embargo, when Arab states turned oil into a political weapon and forced the West to reconsider its Middle East policy. Or the British blockade of Germany in World War I, which succeeded not through decisive battle but through sustained economic pressure. Iran has studied these precedents and modernized them. No need for a navy when geography and a few anti-ship missiles suffice. The difference today is the speed and visibility. Social media turns every price spike into political ammunition. Markets react in minutes rather than months. The pressure is relentless and immediate. Inside the United States, the debate is growing louder. Intelligence assessments shared with Congress in mid-March reportedly warned that even if the strait reopens tomorrow, the damage to global confidence and supply chains will take years to repair. Some voices are urging a diplomatic off-ramp, quiet talks through Oman or Qatar that would trade limited sanctions relief for a phased reopening. Others insist on doubling down, perhaps limited strikes on Iranian coastal batteries or a full naval escort operation. The split mirrors the deeper exhaustion after years of wars in Iraq, Afghanistan, and now the appetite for another open-ended commitment is vanishing. Yet the most dangerous outcome may not be military escalation, but strategic irrelevance. If the United States cannot force the strait open and cannot convince its allies to help, its claim to be the indispensable guarantor of global energy security collapses. China steps into the vacuum not with warships, but with pipelines, long-term contracts, and diplomatic mediation. The war that was meant to contain Iran may instead accelerate the very power shift Washington most fears. The situation remains fluid. Iran shows no sign of backing down. Oil prices continue their erratic climb. Global leaders are holding emergency calls, but no one wants to be the first to blink. The question hanging over every capital is the same one ordinary citizens are asking at the gas pump and the dinner table. Was this war worth it? The situation remains fluid. Iran shows no sign of backing down. Oil prices continue their erratic climb. Global leaders are holding emergency calls, but no one wants to be the first to blink. The question hanging over every capital is the same one ordinary citizens are asking at the gas pump and the dinner table. Was this war worth it? The historical mirror is impossible to ignore. In 1973, when Arab oil producers imposed an embargo after the Yom Kippur War, they did not fire a single additional shot. They simply turned off the taps. Within months, the West faced gasoline rationing, factory shutdowns, and a global recession that reshaped politics for a decade. The lesson was clear. Economic denial can achieve what conventional arms cannot. Iran has absorbed that lesson and updated it for the 21st century. Unlike 1973, when the embargo was coordinated through OPEC, Tehran is acting alone, yet achieving the same effect through geography alone. The difference today is the speed of the shock and the total absence of any off-ramp short of total capitulation by Washington and Jerusalem. Strategic accounting reveals a brutal asymmetry. The United States and Israel invested immense political capital and military precision to remove one man and disrupt a handful of facilities. In return, they received a global energy crisis that is now costing the world economy hundreds of billions every week. Iran, by contrast, has lost its supreme leader, but gained something far more valuable: leverage over the daily lives of billions. Every additional week the strait remains closed strengthens the regime's narrative inside Iran that endurance is victory. Hardliners who might have faced internal challenges after Khamenei's death are now riding a wave of nationalist pride. The proxy network, Hezbollah Houthis, Iraqi militias, has been energized rather than diminished. The very strike meant to decapitate the Axis has instead galvanized it. For the United States, the miscalculation runs deeper. Domestic politics demanded a show of strength after years of perceived weakness in the Middle East. Yet the blowback has exposed the limits of American power in an era when energy markets are global and fragile. Carrier groups that could have been deterring China in the Indo-Pacific are now babysitting oil tankers in the Gulf. That had systems diverted from Asia leave Taiwan more exposed. European allies already skeptical after Ukraine are openly questioning the value of following Washington into another open-ended commitment. The war that was supposed to demonstrate resolve is instead demonstrating overstretch. China's quiet role in this drama is perhaps the most consequential long-term shift. Beijing has not joined the blockade, but it has not helped end it either. Instead, it has used the crisis to deepen energy ties across the global south, offering discounted Iranian crude and long-term contracts that lock in dependence for years. Chinese diplomats are quietly mediating back-channel talks while publicly calling for restraint. Every month of high oil prices accelerates the diversification away from Western financial systems and toward yuan-denominated energy trade. The power that was meant to be contained is instead being handed new tools of influence. 3 future scenarios are now crystallizing. In the first, limited American naval escorts combined with back-channel diplomacy through Oman force a phased reopening by late April. Oil prices settle back toward $90, but the damage to global confidence and supply chains lingers for years. The United States claims a narrow victory, yet the deeper erosion of alliance trust remains. In the second, more likely path, the closure drags into summer. European economies tip into recession. Japan, as export machine seizes up and political pressure forces Washington into a face-saving deal that includes partial sanctions relief. Iran emerges bruised but strategically stronger, having demonstrated that geography trumps technology. In the third, darkest scenario, miscalculation leads to direct naval clashes. The strait becomes a shooting gallery, prices spike past $150, and the resulting global depression redraws the map of power in ways no one can predict. The philosophical question this crisis forces upon us is the oldest in strategy. When does the use of force become self-defeating? For centuries, great powers have believed that decisive military action could reshape reality. Yet time and again, the weaker side has discovered that simply refusing to cooperate with the global system can impose cost the strong cannot bear. Iran is not winning in any conventional sense. It is surviving, and in the modern world, survival through endurance is itself a form of victory. The war that began as an attempt to restore deterrence has instead exposed the fragility of the entire post-war energy order. What we are witnessing is not merely an oil crisis. It is the live unraveling of an assumption that has underpinned global stability for 70 years, that the United States could guarantee safe passage for energy without paying an unbearable domestic price. That assumption is cracking. The countries that mastered diversification, patience, and economic resilience will write the next chapter. Iran, for all its isolation, has just reminded the world that geography can still trump aircraft carriers when the stakes are high enough. Friends, we have walked through the immediate human and economic pain, the historical parallels, the strategic miscalculations on all sides, China's quiet ascent, the 3 possible futures, and the deeper philosophical reckoning this moment demands. What remains is for all of us to watch whether reason or exhaustion will finally prevail. History rarely forgives leaders who mistake tactical success for strategic wisdom. Yet this moment still offers a chance to choose a different path. I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Do you believe this war has already lost its meaning, or is there still a path to a meaningful outcome? How do you see China's role evolving as the crisis deepens? Which of the three scenarios feels most likely to you, and why? Share your perspective below, and let us continue the conversation together. Thank you for staying with me through this extended deep dive. I will see you in the next video, where we turn to the next chapter of this turbulent era.